while we get lost.
Alright, what's up, everyone? Last show of the season. So bittersweet. So sad, so sad. It's okay. We had a good run. No worries. We'll be, you'll catch me next year. Maybe, who knows? Maybe actually on KADI, we'll see. I'll be in Springfield, Missouri all summer. Who knows what I'll be doing? Okay, couple of things. As you know, this is not JP's first time on the radio show, and a few reasons why. Last week was super duper good, but I felt really bad because the video was lost. It wasn't on YouTube, so it was just really sad. So I invited him back on the show because he's just really good at dropping that truth. Here we have Lito out here, but I'm actually gonna have you guys, Lito, you can kind of introduce yourself just because nobody knows. I mean, I'm sure people do know who you are, but some people don't.
You need to get to know this man.
And then maybe just drop both of you a random fact, something oddly interesting about you. I don't know.
I'm Lito.
You gotta be in that mic though. You know what I'm saying?
My bad, y'all.
Yeah, you
I'm
good.
Lito. Something y'all don't know about me.
Well, what are you studying? Where are you from? That kind of
I'm
stuff.
church leadership major. I'm from Hawaii. Live in Texas right now.
Okay.
Be all you.
Hawaiian. Yeah, I'm Jacob Powelson. A lot of people call me JP. Man, gosh, super random fact. I've only broke one bone, my big toe.
Bro, I broke my pinky toe once.
My big toe, yeah. I was 6 years old. It was on Christmas Eve, and
That's tough.
I didn't get any presents that year because I was in the ER in the hospital.
Did you get after?
That's so sad.
Actually, I got one present. It was a Hot Wheels semi-truck, and then you could drive the car up into the back of it, so it was pretty
I'm
cool.
so sorry. I wish I can go back in time.
That was super random. I just tried to think of the most random thing I could.
Well, that was pretty random. Lito, something random about yourself. It could be a hidden talent or something like that.
Shoot. I never broke a bone.
It doesn't have to be about the bones. It does not have to be bone related.
I could play the ukulele.
Okay.
That's about it.
Oh, that's pretty good. That's
Little
pretty
instrument
good.
I play.
Yeah.
And I donated plasma for the first time in my life today, so go save lives, people. Go save lives.
Talk about your experience. How was
Yeah,
it?
Wow.
What time of day did you go? Because it's, if you go at 11.
Well, I asked the people what the best time was, and they said there is no good time. Super early in the morning, maybe 2 p.m. is the best times. But I don't know. I went, and I'm okay with needles. Some people struggle. Some people are fine. I'm okay if I just kind of look away and just don't expect it. But
yeah, I don't look when they put it in.
It's kind of a long
an
process,
hour.
but they put you at the front of the line if it's your first time, and then the whole thing. The worst part was the needle sitting in your arm was just kind of uncomfortable, but pain is not anything crazy.
Yeah.
Definitely should do it. It's so worth it.
Yeah.
I feel like I saved
Get your money.
When you get good,
100 lives.
my PR is 27 minutes. You know what I'm saying? I'm going like this.
Oh.
I know.
I didn't
So
know
once
that.
you do it after a while, you
Only
get
7
good.
minutes.
I know, but I can only
Okay.
give 690. So
Aw.
I don't know how much.
I'm
you give.
880.
80. I don't know what your PR is, but try to top that.
40 minutes, bro.
Okay, well that was just, I guess, a fun related fact. So as you guys have probably seen, as advertised, tonight's topic is lifestyle choices and spiritual growth. That was actually chosen by JP. Was there any reason why you wanted to talk about that? Anything?
I feel like it kind of tagged along to James and I's last
Yeah.
talk. I mean, it stemmed off. Most of our answers kind of went towards that. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of been something that I've, struggled with and went through and then try to better myself through. And then
Yeah.
my guy Lito, we've had some pretty good talks, throughout this year. So we were hey, that's something we can talk about. We've kind of talked about with other people and ourselves. So
Yeah,
here
and
we
definitely
are.
feel free to drop any questions if you guys have anything. Well, first of all, right away, I just want to hop in and define what that kind of lifestyle looks like. So what would you say a healthy relationship with God looks like? And we probably did touch on that a little bit with James, but I mean, we're talking about what lifestyle choices. So what do you think a positive lifestyle would look like? Just maybe something small from day to day, or I don't know.
Well, I'll start off with JP.
Go.
JP was talking. But start off, I'd say a healthy little day-to-day relationship is making your own decisions and not really looking at what you can do. I'd say to. Ooh, got kind of lost there. But
It happens, you know.
But you kind of look at yourself day to day and the choices you're making, and make them yourself. You know, lean on other people, kind of only to give them like pros and cons when you're listening, and being healthy as in doing you. You know.
So, Lito, not to just be like, bah, you know, but so say a matter comes up and you have to make a choice, and, you know, maybe they have different consequences. Like, how would you make that choice? You know, how, like, I don't know, is it based off who you surround yourself with? Is it your own personal belief system? Like, you say make your own choices, but how do we make sure that's something positive, you know?
Making the right choice, I'll share this with JP, is like making the right choice isn't always going to bring you to happiness. So that's something we got to remember. And going back on your question, positive and negatives, you got to look at it all together when you're making your decision, like the pros and cons. The thing I always look to is the 5 W's, the who, what, where, when, why. You know, why is it happening, what's happening, who is involved, things like that. And level it out to your best decision and how you think it'll benefit you.
Okay, JB.
Yeah.
Hop on that train.
I think it's huge, like, who you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
Because those are the people that are going to be giving you either advice through their words or their actions are going to be kind of like rubbing off on you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's huge. Just like who you're surrounded
That's
with, and like even the people who are giving you advice through their words. Like, I liked what Lito said. Like, ultimately, like you got to make that decision on your own. So, you know, you don't always have to listen to every bit of advice everybody gives you, but you should always evaluate it. Like, take it in and accept it for, like, what it is, but at the end of the day, like, usually, like, go with your gut. Like, your gut and your conscience is gonna, like, tell you usually what's right, so.
That's good. So how do you think Evangel helps with having a positive lifestyle, or just like spiritual growth? Like, how do you think it helps, or what is one way they could do better?
A pretty biased topic would be chapel, having to go to chapel. I kind of actually like having to go to chapel because it kind of puts like a discipline on you.
Yeah.
You know, getting closer to God yourself and going and listening. And 33 sounds like a lot, but when we look back at it, it's actually a little bit of time while we got sin sitting in chapel, whether it just be like sandbox or
Bro, don't be sleeping on a sandbox.
No, I'm just saying.
A lot of big things happen
you go in there. Yeah,
that.
you go in there and you just spend time with the Lord.
Yeah.
And it's probably like one of the best things they got at Evangel, I'd say.
That's good.
Yeah, I like what Lito said about chapel and how it's like sets a tone for discipline.
Mm-hmm.
I have a book, haven't quite like gotten into it too much, but I've heard my coach Jeremy on the basketball team, he's talked about discipline equals freedom.
Shout out to Jeremy.
Yeah, shout out to Jeremy. I thought he was listening, but discipline equals freedom.
Ooh, okay.
So that's something I've been doing.
Ooh, I'm about to write this down really
get
fast.
That one. That's actually a good one.
Cool,
short, easy to remember. But like, so what that means is just, I've had like a struggle throughout this year, and that's just kind of figuring out, like, you know, being a freshman, figuring out how to be a good time manager.
It's hard.
I was like, I don't have enough hours in the day, and I was like, wait, I should never say that. And I get on to people when they say that, but what it is like, the reason why I was like getting into procrastination and being complacent was because I wasn't being disciplined with other aspects. So what I mean, it's super recent, but like, I'm on day 3. Today was the 3rd day of going to bed super early.
So what time is early for you?
Going to bed early for me is any time before 10:30. So
Man, okay, shoot.
I mean, yeah. So the last
my early is 12 a.m.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
But hey, you guys probably wake up a lot earlier than I do.
So besides last night, I went to bed like a little after 10:30, but
10:45.
I've been waking up 6:15, and like, I mean, I can be honest here.
Yeah,
like,
this is an honest place.
This is the first time like I've ever truly started, like, the time my feet hit the ground, like, just got down and prayed.
Wow.
And then
That's good,
opened the word and then prayed on it, and then I do some like stretching routines. Yeah, you can say it's yoga, but it's just like something like
Don't
that.
tell James River.
I know, yeah, that's why I was like being careful with how I
No,
said that.
I mean meditating isn't necessarily like.
Well, I'm not
so many-
meditating. I'm just doing
Well,
it for
but like
stretching
sometimes,
purposes.
I know, but people.
Yeah, seriously.
There's different forms of meditation. Like some of it is really just clearing your mind.
Mhm.
And I'm not gonna lie, like I do that in nature. Like that's when I find God so much.
Yeah.
You know, just like seeing His creation.
Yeah,
and
we
just,
shouldn't push God out of our heads. But,
Yeah.
getting back on track, but it just starts my day right, and then I feel like it's just opened up my day.
Yeah.
It's made my day longer, my morning longer.
So do you do that while like your roommate's still in the room and stuff like
Yeah,
that?
so a lot of times Brandon's usually asleep or he'll start to wake up, but I'm really quiet. I'll put headphones in and do it myself, or
He's
I'm
so
just
stealth.
praying with the light on, just reading. Like that's super
Yeah.
quiet. But like that's just something I've done recently, something I've always really wanted to do, but I've never
So
had.
how would you say that's
discipline.
affected you since you've started?
It's just like my day is just. It seems like there's like 36 hours in the day. And
Really?
then, like that's where the freedom comes into play. Like I wake up and I'm like, man, like I'm tired, but just like let me get my day right. I got the sleep
Yeah.
I needed, and that's another thing. When I wake up and I got 5, 6, 7 hours of sleep, I was like, I didn't get the sleep I need, so I'm gonna go to bed, even though I still could have got up. So like knowing I got the sleep and then
And like you read so many things in different like
yeah.
devotional things. Oh, when you finally get up, when you finally do that, when you start your day with me, like when you do all these things. But like here you are actually doing it.
doing it seriously.
Does it like? Do you feel like you're just more positive and more joyful in your day right away?
Like you can ask. Like I'll shout out to I don't know who all was watching in the group, but
Yeah.
there's Bree, Mia, and Kaylin. We were talking today about the last few days. They're like, you were like extra. I was like, yeah, I know. I was just like living on Jesus, high on Jesus. Honestly, like throughout the day, it's just handled anything. I mean, not to say you're not gonna have your bad days, but
Yeah.
it just made the day so much better. But
Yeah.
that's just encouragement to others. Like I'm super new to the practice of waking up and the first thing you do is opening the Word and praying. Like
Yeah.
that's sad to say. Like as a 19-year-old.
But are you like a morning person or a night person?
I'm probably a night owl.
See,
so
that's
this
how
is
I am too.
huge
And I
for
find
me.
that so hard to
Yeah,
do
I'm
sometimes.
super productive at night, late at night. But I was just trying to change my schedule and
Yeah.
just be more disciplined. Because then, like, if I'm disciplined in my spirituality, like everything else, like classes are gonna be easier to go to.
Oh, okay.
Homework's gonna be easier to do. It's like it's gonna be easier to stick to.
Yeah.
Like when you schedule something with somebody, it's gonna go into everything else, and then athletically too. That helps. I mean, that's something I've always been like. Yeah, I'm gonna take basketball discipline. Like I want to be disciplined in my craft and skill, and like I thought it would trickle into everything else, and
Yeah.
it kind of did. And you can relate it and bring it, but no matter what you do, I feel like you should just start. You know, with God. Everything should just start first and foremost with God. So
That's good.
it's kind of like something I've done, but
That's good. Okay, so this is kind of a different question, but I mean, I was going to go along the line with like, so developing the spiritual relationship obviously requires people to go to church and stuff like that. How do you feel about someone who does online church? Like, do you think that they can still maintain an awesome spiritual relationship with God, or do you think it's, you know, they're lacking fellowship? What do you think about just maybe like a college student or somebody who just watches church online every Sunday, chills in their dorm, but, you know, do you think that can be someone who can grow spiritually, or do you think, like, what are your thoughts on that?
I'll hit on this real quick.
It's like,
but
sorry,
only-
Lito.
No.
I'm just kidding.
Let me drive the boat, Lito. Let me drive the boat.
boat.
But the only reason I say I want to hit on this, next year, like, at least Krause Hall was thinking about on the movie screen.
Room?
They wanted to maybe think about either every Sunday or most Sundays start putting on like an online service. So I feel like it can be productive. You just gotta like use it in the right way. But I just wanted to say that because like that's something like even Krause Hall's thinking about doing. So
Yeah.
it can definitely be used in the right way.
Like, do you think that's almost saying, like, oh, is that like if you don't have a ride to church, you can come here? Or is it like...
I know there's some people that just aren't comfortable, like
Oh.
whether you're new, like when I was new, I didn't know where to go really.
Yeah.
Whether you're new, you're a transfer, you're just not comfortable, you're lazy. I mean, yeah, sadly, a lot of us are lazy. You know,
Yeah.
Dr. King, shout out to DK, he says,
All these shout outs.
if you're, yeah,
Sorry, no,
all
I'm
these
just-
shout outs. Hey, at least I'm
Strictly
remembering them.
shout-outs.
Oh, free advertising.
He says if you're thinking about going to church, whether or not to go to church, you're not gonna go. So
that's good.
there's some people like that. There's been days I was like, man, like I need my sleep. So like,
Yeah.
if you want to do that, you can stay. But like, I don't know, it just opens up more opportunities. Like, you know, we're at a. I know I said it'd be quick, but I'm kind of.
You're good, bro.
I'll stop down this
You're
rabbit
speaking
trail.
the truth, bro. Keep going.
Like, you
Lito,
know,
you're so nice.
our generation, like, you know, things are just becoming easier and easier. So
Yeah.
it is kind of, you know, relating to our generation, but I feel like we shouldn't solely rely on online church because you know,
Yeah.
there's good things with fellowship with others that are at different ages. So
Yeah.
I think
true.
it can be used good, but don't abuse it.
That's good.
So, one thing, if you do sit in your dorm, or you do, you know, watch online, one thing you gotta remember, God is, it's a big word, but He's everywhere at any
Omnipresent.
time. Yep. So I feel like as long as you're not going through the motion and just watching it, you're actually worshiping with the worship team and listening to it and praying while you're watching it, then it could help. But I mean, if you do, I encourage you to go out to a church, find a home church, and it's not the same as in your dorm as you are in
Yeah.
with the congregation.
Yeah.
You know, you got people who pray for you. You know, in the Bible it says, "Call into the elders of the church." If you don't go into a church and you're sick, you know, it kind of messes up the reason for the verse that it's telling you to do. It's also, the atmosphere is amazing in church. Don't get me mistaken, it could be amazing in your room, but while you're around with a lot more godly people, you know, the atmosphere just changes. You can feel it. You know, you can feel the Holy Spirit move. Yeah, go to church, find a church,
Yeah.
get plugged in.
I think one thing too people forget is that a lot of times, like the church is for the people who are, you know, sick, don't know God, that kind of thing. A lot of times though, we go to church too because, you know, sometimes people need us. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like sometimes I'll go to church and then I feel like God's calling me to go pray for somebody else. Like who knows the impact you could have for somebody else that,
That's right.
you know, they're missing if you just stay in your dorm. But I mean, there's just so many different pros and cons. So this is kind of a different question too. What would you say are some keys to forgiving someone? Maybe someone really hurt you or something and you really want to continue in your spiritual growth, but you're really struggling because this person maybe just really hurt you and you want to be able to forgive that person, but like you're damaged, you're wounded, you know? How do you cope with that? What are things that you've learned on how to start that process?
You touch this one first.
Sure.
So,
That was super confident.
so like, so one thing I learned about forgiveness is you can forgive and not trust.
Oh,
So that's one thing
whoa,
I had to
Lito, we just dropped it.
Write that one down.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that, you know, in my life I had to forgive, but I don't think never again I could trust them like how I used to before. So forgiving is forgive what they did. Everybody did wrong. Everybody does wrong.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean you have to trust them so they can hurt you while they do the same thing again, or you know, just don't get your back stabbed again.
Yeah.
See you, bro.
I don't really have much more to add. I like that. I've actually never heard that.
Really?
Put it that way. I've never heard it put that way. So
Like his answer?
yeah, like forgive.
Yeah.
But you don't have to trust them. 'Cause you know, there's some people you can't just. There's only so many chances you can give to some people, I
Yeah.
guess. So.
Well, part of it too, I think, is, you know, guarding your heart almost, where, you know, it's like, yeah, like God forgives you, but there's consequences. Like, even though if you steal something, you know, you can be forgiven.
Yeah.
You're still gonna go, you know, you're still in trouble. You broke a law, you know?
Mhm.
So, I mean, even though this is completely different, like, we're talking about matters of the heart, you know?
Mhm.
I mean, I still think what you said is super true and valuable, you know?
And it's you know, not forgiving someone's toxic. It eats you up inside.
That's true.
Like, not literally, but well, actually, kind of. You know, it'll hurt you. It'll bring down your heart. You're always thinking about it. You know.
That's right.
So.
Yeah, that was really good, Lito. That was really
Appreciate
good.
that, Morgan. You too.
Thanks, Lito. Okay, so do you ever go through a moment where, you know, you spend time with God, maybe you're reading the Bible, because, you know, we hear God through the Bible, we really just, the Bible, like, lifts you up and empowers you, it's awesome, it's truth, it's the Word, but what about when you're in that moment and you're really praying for something or something and you just feel like you can't hear God? What do you do in that moment? You know, do you feel like your spiritual growth is stunted? Like, what do you do when you just feel like you can't hear anything from God and you're just frustrated?
I don't know, like, the whole philosophy behind, like, you know how, like you said, sometimes, like, you feel like God can be silent. You know, like in the Old Testament, like, in Scripture, it talks about how, like, he's directly speaking to people. Like, to me, that's crazy. Like, I couldn't even put that into words, like, if God directly spoke to me in a dream or an angel or, like, just flat out, like, his voice coming from heaven. Like, man, you want to talk about, like, the thunderous voice. But, like, you know, under, like, New Testament law, like, you kind of don't hear about it. Or, like, even in the Old Testament, there was 400 years where, like, he was silent. So when I feel like secularist people can think this too, like, well, how can you, like, believe in a God that, like, you don't ever hear from? And then this is where I'm getting into, like, I don't know how to explain it, but, like, I've heard my professors say it too, but, like, there's times where I'm like, you know, just be quiet and listen. And it's like, to me, that's, I don't know, that's just weird. It's like, listen for what is what people will ask.
Yeah.
And, like, I'm not even kidding. Like, there's been so many times where I'm like, you know, instead of just talking about this or instead of, like, trying to force the answer, like, I've literally just sat there and a word has come to my mind. And then, to me, like, that's just part of God, like, how unexplainable something like that is. And, like, the word has just played out to be, like, what I needed to focus on in that situation. So I feel like just being quiet and, like, even if it's not in that instance, like, there could be a sign. I mean, some people pray for signs, but I don't know. There's just going to be a door that'll open or close, and then that's something I've had a few friends talk to me about. You know, not everything's about, you know, a different door will open. It's like sometimes, like, a door's going to shut, and that's just going to be an indicator. So I feel like God speaks to us in those kind of ways. But
yeah. I think along with what you said, too, a lot of times, you know, even like being a DL, people are like, oh, you know, I don't hear God, I don't hear things. And I say it's almost like, you know, your relationship with God mimics relationship with, like, friends or with, like, another person. You know, you talk about your day, you talk about things you like, but then you have to stop and listen for the other person to talk. Yeah. And people forget that with God. Like, if we're just, God, I need this, I want this, this and this and this. Like, stop and listen to hear what God's trying to tell you. Sure. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know. I think if people just, like you said, just, like, chilled out, cleared their mind, found that space, they would hear God's voice a lot more, you know?
Something I found out too, like, my decision coming to Evangel and, like, doing a bunch of other things.
Yeah, can you talk about that? Can you talk about that and, like, why you chose church leadership?
So throughout my life, well, my high school, I had, like, a lot of decisions. I was going to be a firefighter. I was going to go work on heavy machinery or, like, a bunch of stuff that paid well. So I had, like, my options open, and then I forgot. I applied to Evangel and I got in. And I was kind of always in the back, and I kind of pushed it away sometimes because I knew I had a calling to ministry. Well, we all do, but I knew I was kind of had a calling to be a pastor too. So I'd say one day, somewhere after prom, I just kind of had to start weighing out all my options, and I was thinking I was going to be a firefighter. Like, that was really what I was going to do. And then I found no peace in it. So each time I think about it, you know, my mind would always just bring me back, like, no, Evangel is where you need to go. So one day I called up here again, and I was like, hey, what do I still need to do to get in? And that decision is where I found peace in myself. I didn't have no worries or didn't have to, like, oh, I still can do this or I still can do that. I got here, and I was like, oh, I'm staying here. There was no mixed emotions about being here. So,
awesome.
Yeah, like, one thing I encourage you guys to do is when you guys think about, if you are sitting there waiting for God to waiting for God to speak to you, think about all the other ways he can speak to you. And one that I knew is finding peace.
So how did you pick church leadership, though? How do you go from firefighter to church leadership, you know? How did that happen?
Fire of God spoken to me.
Oh, wow.
Nah, it's just,
good one.
Dad jokes.
What up,
Dad
man?
jokes for
Oh,
days.
such a way.
So church leadership, I kind of, like I said, I kind of knew I had, like, a calling to be a pastor, because I was thinking, like, missionary, and I was like, no, missionary ain't it. And I was like, I mean, not to, like, bash missionaries. Like, missionaries is like, that's them. They're good.
It's like, I love that for them, you know?
Youth
I love
pastor.
that for you.
Youth is amazing, but that just wasn't me either. So like I prayed, and I finally found peace. Pastor. So
Look at you.
sounds good.
That's awesome.
Really, sometimes I look back and always like I love doing all the firefighter things I did in high school, and I look back at it and it was so much fun and it taught me a lot. But here I am, church leadership.
you are.
I actually changed it.
Really?
Yeah. Came here criminal justice.
I feel like I knew. That's when I really knew
Yeah.
you was when you're criminal justice. I was like,
He
oh,
kind of
okay.
looks like a
Criminal
cop,
justice.
doesn't
He
he?
really
thanks.
does, though.
He needs
Yeah,
the glasses.
but now you got like the
Sauce.
gold cross.
Oh.
Traded in like the regular gold chain for the gold cross.
Had to. But
yeah,
find peace.
that was good.
Yeah, I liked what you said about instead of like just telling God like what like we want him to
Yeah.
hear and to like just sit there and listen. Like I know like when you're talking to friends and stuff like that, whether or not like they're going through a bad day, like it's hard to just sit there and listen to them
Yeah,
because you want to interject a lot.
yeah,
Like
lot.
I mean even like I don't know, in everyday conversations you just always want to like get your words out.
because
So
people talk to respond. They don't talk to like understand.
Mm. And that's huge. Like whenever I've had issues, like I have some people that can just sit there, even if it's not and listening. Like, unfortunately, some people actually aren't listening, but like engage. Like give them eye contact.
Yeah, sorry,
and,
I
like,
know, that's like really funny to me.
yeah, just show them you care
Yeah.
and you're listening. Like that's huge. So, like even in everyday conversations, it applies to that.
Definitely, I definitely resonate with that, and just my time at Evangel, like being a sophomore and going through different things, like in the youth group
you were
or
a junior.
as a DL. Bro, I'm not a junior yet.
Oh, no, well then.
Don't put me in that way. Okay, I'm just kidding. I've learned that I can give so much advice. I can try to say what I think is best. But none of it matters because people do what they want.
Mhm.
But what they don't forget is that I was there and then I just listened. And then I said, you know what? Like, maybe I don't know what you're going through. Maybe it's really hard and I don't understand it. But I'm here, I love you, and I'm just going to listen to you and what you're going through. And that's what I can only hope that a friend would want to do for me,
Yeah. I think the hardest part, like what you were saying, this is off topic. but,
No,
like,
say it. We love
but,
off
like,
topic.
when someone asks you for like what should they do and you tell them what they should do and you're like, but I don't know though, like
Yeah.
just leaves the
Yeah.
blame on you.
And that's the thing too, like if someone doesn't listen to your advice, don't be like, bro, you're so stupid, like don't ever talk to me ever again. It's like, you know what, I love you, I support you, I get it's hard, it's challenging, but I'm your friend and I want you to be happy,
I feel that.
Good stuff, Morgan.
Thanks, You should be a DL. Are you gonna be a DL?
I'm applying for the men's basketball deal next year.
Oh yeah, that's cool. We don't
Baller.
DL. Maybe.
Yeah, probably. One day.
I'm not being a DL again. Different things.
Season of your life.
Season of my life. You know what I'm saying? But you guys would be great
I got you.
candidates. Here we go. So this is kind of a personal question.
Dun, dun, dun.
If you self-evaluate yourself, would you say that you're a positive influence on others?
Recently,
I don't know. Whatever.
yes.
Yeah.
Previously, not always.
Yeah.
That's
So
good.
like why I say recently is because like that's just like been a part of like the whole
Past 3
discipline
days.
thing.
I'm just playing.
Past 2 days. I've only been a good influence.
I'm sorry, it was right
Past
there.
3 No, like I've just felt an explosion in the
Yeah.
positivity. I've always been like an advocate of like positive energy
Yeah,
and negative energy are contagious.
that's true for
Like,
sure.
When you're down in the dumps, it rubs off on people who are like having a good time.
Yeah.
Like, and you don't even realize it. But when you, like, I'm gonna shout out. I'd like to shout out.
You like to shout out.
Gotta
Don't
use-
don't
you
tell
write
us
down
you don't like
everybody's
to
I
shout
didn't
out.
say that. I said I like to. I'm admitting
Oh,
it.
you did say that. I thought
I'm
you
using
did.
my platform, what God's given me.
Okay.
What's up?
Just trying to get some free
my
jerseys
My
or
friend
something.
Nathaniel Bennett,
Oh, I love it.
Oh.
We
Yeah.
love Nathaniel Bennett.
Southside
Met that dude the other
from Scott. Yeah, shout out to the Scott people.
Pretty good ping pong player. I have
He-
to say that.
He does not have a bad day.
Really.
I encourage
Aw.
you to find somebody who does not have a bad day because just like for him, like he's an example in my life that had just like chips off his energy and it just falls onto me and like I've never been in a bad mood.
But if he does have a bad day, it's okay, Nathaniel.
Yeah, like it happens.
There's
You're
no-
bound
You gotta
to.
be 100 every day.
I
It's
know.
okay.
But he just, even if he is going through struggles, he puts himself in the mindset like God's bigger than all that, and
That's good.
I don't know. That just it puts you, it elevates you above your situations.
Yeah.
So
Ooh, that's good. Ooh.
God elevates you above your situations. Remember that.
Yeah. God, I'm elevated. Yeah.
I don't know that song.
Actually,
Sounds like a banger
She
though.
just made that.
Well, no, I just put it
Oh,
into that one
never
song.
mind.
Yeah, she
you know?
just put it in. Come on, Lito.
Yeah,
You don't know
Lito.
her album is coming
Yeah,
out?
you know what I'm saying? Okay.
Summer album.
Honestly, maybe. I'll have some time in my hand. Okay, so this is obviously like a year-long question that, you know, how can you have, well, you were saying it's about who you surround yourself with. So, you know, we all have those people in our life where there's people who don't know God that we're friends with, people who do know God. So how do you make sure that the right ones influence you? You know, how do you create those boundaries? Like, how is it for you?
Um,
Do you get the question? Is it confusing or you got it?
Can you say the first part? Sorry.
Okay, so when it comes to surrounding yourself with people, why are you guys smiling? I don't.
Because I was listening, but not really listening.
Well,
See, it happens.
so on point 4, we're talking. So JP's not a good friend. I'm just kidding.
We're not
don't
perfect.
put chicken on here.
Daniel Bennett. I'm just kidding. I'm just playing. Okay, so when it comes to having people influence your life, obviously people of all different places, platforms are going to influence you. When it comes to having your non-Christian friends who go out, who you love and who you support, and your Christian friends who, you know, probably do make mistakes here and there too. Obviously, we're all human.
Yeah.
How do you make sure the right people that you want to influence your life influence it positively? Like, are there boundaries you set, or is there like, oh, we can hang out, but you know, we're not gonna do this or we're not gonna do that? Like, what is it? How is it for your life?
So I come in Texas. I don't have that much friends that really do you know, believe in God. So when I go back down home, I kind of feel like
Sorry. Where in Texas are you from?
Killeen, Texas.
Oh,
It's
okay.
like 45 minutes north of Austin, but I don't know geography. But when I go back
He's an
down,
honest man. I'm sorry, I'm done. Continue.
when I go back down, I kind of know like the person I have to be, and it's stronger than I was before. Since they know I'm at Evangel, what I'm doing, now I know I'm the one that has to influence them
That's
since they're
great.
around me.
That's good.
You know what I mean? So like when I'm around, for say like JP and my other friends I can hang out with that are good influences, I know I can be myself. I mean, me myself can influence them, but I know I can like talk to them in a way I can't really talk to.
You don't have to be like on your guard.
Yeah,
You can just
I
be
can't break my
chill.
witness with
Yeah.
Yeah,
my friends that don't know Christ.
that's good.
So,
Yeah.
because I know they're strong enough that if I do something stupid, I can come to them, talk to them, they can influence me more than.
So
know,
do
I
they
was.
respect, you know, you and your decisions? Or they're like, oh, bro, why you being so lame?
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
blah,
like,
blah. It's like
I have a group chat with a bunch of my friends
Yeah.
from back home, and they're always sending like dumb stuff in the chat. But like the other day, I posted a word on my Instagram, and my friend came back and he was like, "Can you elaborate on this?" So like it kind of helped. Like I was able to talk to my friend.
yeah.
One dude I never thought that like would actually
Yeah.
come and ask a question about Christ. I was able to talk to him what it meant. Like it's pretty good.
That's awesome, you know?
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I relate to that Lito situation with. I have some friends. I mean, we all have some friends who aren't, you know,
Yeah.
like living Christ-like and stuff like that. And from a small town, like where I come from.
Rosendale.
Where I come from,
Old town.
Yeah.
Road.
Oh my
there's, like-
gosh.
we were getting our country album going there.
Let me
But
know.
so, like, I had 30 people in my class, so
yeah.
120 in high school, super small school. So
Wait, for real?
yeah. Yeah, there's. We're people too, okay?
Oh no, I was just saying it's
Um,
small, dude.
It's
Proms are fun.
yeah. No, we actually had like one of the better proms for like,
Really?
a small school. But
Sorry, I'm
Some
sorry for
strong
judging.
therapy.
no,
I'm
it's
sorry.
okay. I'm defending my.
Just make sure you lock the door when you leave.
Just
Oh, okay.
defending.
Thanks, Gracie. You rock.
You guys have a good night.
You too.
Defending
You
the
too.
small town roots. But
JP.
you don't, in a sense, you don't get to choose your friends like in a small town. You can choose who you hang around with, I guess, more. But I guess I didn't really make the best decisions when because like I wasn't choosing who to hang around. Like
Yeah.
you're gonna see those people. Like in a bigger school, even like at
Yeah.
Evangel, it feels big to me. You can like choose who to be around, but like at school, you see those people. So
I get that.
yeah, that's just important to, especially like when you have those people who aren't following Christ,
Yep.
like setting the example. Like we were talking today in my sociology class, like should we hold pastors to a higher standard, in like their own walk and then the actions that they do?
Yeah.
And then the answer was like kind of yes, because they're like kind of setting the tone for like what the rest of the church should follow. So that's where like the discipline, like it's kind of easier to like be here at Evangel, you know, everybody else will pick
Yeah.
you up, and then when you go back home, it's like
You're on
you
your
could be
own.
the make or break for somebody.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's
So my
just-
question is, when you're in a moment of vulnerability, say you are having that off day, say you are doing whatever, how do you make sure you don't get negatively influenced by your friends? Because, I mean, I don't know, maybe just having that strong belief system or having the go-to core friends. But I've seen it happen. You know, you go home, all your Christian friends are gone. Maybe you're lonely or sad, and then you're like, well,
That's
what's
real
the
stuff,
move?
though.
That's it's
Serious.
honest. You know, it's something we all go through. You
Mhm.
know, I don't know.
I
Any
think,
thoughts on that?
yeah, it starts like with your roots. I mean,
That's good.
trees built from the ground up. A house is built from the ground
Yeah.
up. Your base, like, what's your cornerstone? Is it in Christ, or
Ooh, that's
is
good.
it in worldly things? Like it's just gonna fall apart.
Yeah.
You know, we shouldn't build our house on the sand. We should
Mhm.
build it up on the hill, up on the rocks. But
Yeah.
Whoa.
So-
We got houses on the sand.
well, you're more likely to fall. I'm not saying you will fall, but
Nah, I'm playing. I see where you're
so
coming
that's
from.
why the 9 months you're here out of the year, take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Because I've definitely felt like, you know,
Yeah.
looking back, you know, we talked about growth, like here tonight.
Yep.
I look back at this year, and I feel like I have wasted a few months with not taking advantage of my
Yeah.
time here fully. Like, we have so much opportunity
And
here.
it's okay. Like, I
Yeah.
feel like you've grown so much, you know? Don't be, like, hard on yourself, you know?
Yeah, then that's where you got to be careful with it. But evaluating it, looking at it, and then, like, moving
Yeah.
on, saying, like, hey, next year, like, I'm going to be better than I was. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
that should be the main goal. So
Yeah.
take advantage of your time here, because that's going to help with your times of vulnerability. But also, in your times of vulnerability, don't lean on things that like only give you temporary satisfaction.
That's good.
So like, I mean, that's drugs, sex, alcohol, stuff like that. Like that stuff's appealing. That stuff does bring pleasure. I mean, that's why people do it. Like
Yeah.
they wouldn't do it. Like people wouldn't be addicted to cocaine if it wasn't pleasurable, if it wasn't
Yeah.
releasing dopamine in their brain. So rely on something that's gonna give you like eternal joy and like true fulfillment. And I mean, that's
Yeah.
Christ. So that's where the roots come into play.
And I think, like you said, too, with your cornerstone and your foundation, I think it's a really, like, when I went home, I went to, like, my favorite prayer spot, and I just really reflected with God, and I just remembered and thinking, you know, when it comes to the point in your life, like, all you need is God. You know what I'm saying? That's
Yeah.
all you need. You don't really need anybody else, you know? I mean, obviously, you meet people, and you want to witness, and you want to do all those things, but at the end of the day, when you're completely content with just Him, I feel like that just makes everything
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
flow out and everything.
No, I really like how you're like asking these questions, because I mean, for whoever's joining us tonight, and then like
Yeah.
even for us, and then like we can encourage our friends after this.
Yeah.
Like this is gonna be a real issue, or it's gonna be a real.
Yeah. It's just a real talk tonight, you know? It's not really
It's
fun and games.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's relatable, because like, you know, the school's winding down, so
Yeah.
it's definitely kind of like if you've ever gone to church camp, it's that church camp high that you get. You know, Monday, Tuesday, you're like, who are all these weirdos here? Like, you're hanging out with the people you do know.
Yeah.
Wednesday rolls around, you're like, dang, like, wow, I'm starting to have a lot of fun, but you're like, you're getting comfortable. Like, Monday and Tuesday is
Break it down.
uncomfortable. Monday and Tuesday is uncomfortable. Wednesday's like,
Yeah.
yeah, all right. Thursday,
You're
I
like,
mean,
shoot, I got one more day till Friday.
there's people balling, man. You're like,
Yeah.
no, we gotta leave tomorrow, stuff like that. And
Yeah.
then Friday, you're like, dude, Jesus, let's go, man. Like, I got you. Like, you got me. Like, I'm gonna rock this. And then 2 weeks
Spot
out,
on.
2 weeks out, a couple months later, you're in school. Like, you're back to doing the old stuff. Like, I've been
Right.
there. So,
Freaking love church camp,
yeah.
bro.
So, like, think of, like, your time here at Evangel, like, a big, long kind of, like, church camp. So, like, don't don't let yourself just like wash away. Don't let your
Yeah.
relationship in Christ just wash away over the summer just because
Yeah.
of
Or
who
when you
you're around.
graduate.
Yeah.
Or when you
Or
graduate
when you
and go out in the
graduate,
real
and
world.
no one's forcing you to go to chapel or
Yeah.
anything.
But that's just where your roots come into play because you're going to be surrounded. Like, there are going to be times, even if, say you're a pastor and, like, you've started a family and you're around a church, like, there's going to be times with temptation and trials.
Yeah.
Like, so that's just
Doesn't
where,
stop, even though you're a pastor.
where your
Lito, just so
foundation
you know.
comes into play.
No, I know.
Yo, this random dude, Jake Brusicki, I'm just playing. He's like one of my
God.
best friends. He goes, Lito is king.
Love you, Jake.
Shameless
Shout out,
plug,
Jake.
I guess.
My man,
Shout out Jake, I guess.
Real quick.
Go
one
ahead.
Thing you gotta remember, hold yourself accountable
Ooh.
when you're around. When you go back home or wherever you're from, holding yourself accountable is always a big thing. Know your own boundaries within yourself is what you can do and what you can't do, where it would lead you. That's something that was big on me when I went back home. So
That's
share
good.
with y'all.
Sorry, I'm like talking a lot more during this
No,
one. This is like
you're
real
great.
talk show. I'm talking to you guys. Kind of along with that too. Remember, who you serve and what your call is. Like if God has
Yeah.
called you to ministry, if God's called you to evangel, remember that you serve God and not someone else.
That's right.
Even like back home, people don't always agree that family members can be like, oh, why are you going to evangel? Or
Yeah.
do this instead. And like JP said, like you can receive advice from everybody. Does not mean you have to receive it. So
Yeah.
it's like know who you serve. Not
Yeah.
everyone should have the influence to change your life.
That's good. Amen.
Okay, Jake. Can I ask Lito a question? Can you teach me how to haka?
Oh,
Okay,
that's
well,
cool.
I don't know how to, bro.
He doesn't know how
Just
to.
for real. Look it up on YouTube.
Oh.
I got a lot.
Yeah, look
Look
up
at-
The Rock.
look up the Team USA versus New Zealand haka dance.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
That one was
They get
lit.
down.
Yeah, and then all the NBA players are like, we're about to beat you by 50. But, like, after the New Zealanders did it, they were just like, and they went and shook their hand. Like, they were respectful. They knew they were about to get smacked, so
okay.
it was cool looking, though.
So, I don't know if you guys want to share this. This was just, I was talking to one of my friends. She was like, you should just ask this question. And I can go first if you want.
Great friend.
I guess if you want to be vulnerable, like, what is something that you say that you struggle with right now? Just, I don't know, to relate with. I can go first if you just feel like it's uncomfortable or anything.
You can go first if you want.
I'm gonna go first.
What do you think right now?
I don't know. I think, to be completely honest with you guys, like, I'm really struggling with, like, anxiety, and I've never really dealt with that before. Just a lot of fear of the future and what God has for me, and I don't know. It's just real, and I pray and I love God and stuff like that, but I don't know. It's just something that I'm walking through right now. So, just trying to fill my mind with scripture and just try to
That's good.
take each day as it comes. I don't know.
I'll say one thing I gotta work on is my language. Sometimes I get angry. Someone pushes my buttons. Like where I work too is kind of bad because where I work they always like to push. I'm like a caretaker, so they always like to push your buttons. So sometimes I'm gonna let little something slip, and I'm like, oh man, Like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to work. I did so good on it, and then next thing you know, it's just, oh man, I said a bad word. Like, you gotta stop it. That's one thing for me.
I guess for me, something I was struggling with was, like, how I viewed relationships. And then I guess I touched on this last time.
Yeah.
Dun, dun.
Was, like, or it was my view on, like, true beauty. Like, just kind of, like, looking at girls, and this goes vice versa for, like, girls looking at guys, too. Like, there's so much more to outward appearance. And, like, that's
Yeah.
a cliche thing to say, like, inner beauty is, like, it's, like, I don't know, regarded as, it's more valuable. But it truly is, like, there's a stat that, like, even, and I don't mean to get, like, provocative here or anything like that, but, like, even the couples who,
JP,
like,
just
even
do
the,
whatever you want. I don't
even
even
the
care.
married, she's growing caring at this point. Even the married, yeah, I'm just gonna say it. People need to hear it. Even the couples who, like, have intercourse even the most,
Sorry.
like the top end, like that only makes up for like less than 1%. So like 0.625% of the entire time you're together. Like there's so much more to the relationship than the physicality and then like your physical attraction to them.
Yeah.
So that's something I've had to get over was like, well, like I started how I thought the relationship would go, or if I wanted to based off physical attraction. Oh, she thinks I'm cute. Oh, I think she's cute. Instead, it's like, is she following Christ? That should be the first and foremost thing. So that's just been a struggle of mine. Like kind of my whole life, I never held myself to the true standard of like chasing someone who's equally yoked in Christ. Like inner beauty, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's good.
And that goes along with like the qualities and all those other things.
Yeah.
Like those are so important, and we always think that those come later on. You know,
Oh.
we're like, oh, attraction, physicality,
That's
personality, and then we're like, oh, this person won't even do this for me, or like this person doesn't even do this. You
and
know?
it kind of makes sense, like the biblical plan, like to like hold or like save yourself till after marriage. It like makes sense for like the physicality and the physical part to come after.
And it really just protects one another. Like, you
yeah.
realize so much that, like, when you do it before, like, it just really screws everything up.
Well, it just like you just grow together. Like the bond's just so much stronger. Like there's definitely like you're one flesh. Like when you participate in that, but I don't know. There's you just know you really know each other. I just feel like it just means more. The small things, the little things.
Yeah.
Their personality traits, even the ugly parts of it, and so like if you can accept like their like emotions and their personality, and like even if like there's some annoying parts to it, like that's something you can like joke about later too, but that'll just help you appreciate like nobody has like a Barbie figure or like whatever the guy
People
Barbie
try
is.
hard to make it.
They do, like there's people that alter the body, but like what I'm saying is like everybody has like their little kinks or whatever, like just things that are off, and like you have that in your personality too. So like I feel like if you can just like love somebody for their imperfections,
That's good.
like that's like what a true relationship is.
Yeah.
Hit home on that one. That's good.
That was a good one.
Working on it. Working.
So, I just feel like you're just not like the average college student. Like, I just feel like people just don't come here and want to read theological books for fun.
No.
Or
I mean,
do
I don't
this.
go sit in the library and go to like the
Well, that's
restricted
not what I'm
section.
saying. That's not.
Yeah, Lito does. Lito, you'll find him in the corner of the library reading books.
For real?
I mean, no.
Oh, no.
Sarcasm.
But you had me there for a
No,
second.
that's cool. I mean, that's
I just want to know, like, how did that even become? You know,
I mean,
it's just so
yeah.
different from the culture that we live in, you
So,
know?
like, honestly, like, hit a real low spot in my life, last year. And I never, ever thought I would even struggle with depression. And, like, it still even, like, pains me to say I did, because I was, like, I just felt like I was way above that, never would even touch that. But, like, I kind of, like, dwelled in that for a while. So, like, well, I wouldn't say it was, like, a rock bottom spot, but it was just a low point, and I was, like, some dark thoughts going through my head. So, like, it just, like, really convicted me, and it pressed me to, like, better myself. So, like, if, like, we had this thing in youth group a couple years ago. It's like you write a word on a rock, and then you put it somewhere. You'll see it every day, and then that word's your encouragement words. Like mine this year would
That's
be.
cool.
It would be.
Sorry,
It'd be
really
growth.
Good thing.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. That'd be cool for like an event or something like that. Well, I'll log that up
Write
there
that
if I
down.
start
Picture DL.
planning some events or whatever. So
AB coordinator.
So like mine was just.
Get at it.
Stop it. This is a serious moment.
It's okay. Comic relief is good. But yeah, I just wanted to grow in every area of my life, and I was like, how can I do that? So then that's when I was like just start with God and then work from there.
Wow.
So I mean, yeah, knowledge is power. So just like reading the word is probably the most knowledge you can gain out of anything.
Yeah,
That's good, bro.
that is awesome.
So it did kind of start from a dark place, which I was like, man, God, like, why would you like allow me to like go through that? And like a lot of people, I said, why do you allow bad things to happen? And then I'm a firm believer in like there's a brighter side like to all dark places. So like I feel like I wouldn't be as strong with my relationship with Christ. Like it's kind of like hit me right now. Like I didn't really realize like how far I've come. Like even when I wasn't like participating, like all the like bad stuff or whatever you could say, like I just felt like I was just kind of like floating, you know, through my relationship. But like now, I feel like I'm like really like digging my roots
Firm.
deep. I mean, not to say that
Yeah.
seasons aren't gonna come where like you're gonna struggle, but that's just where I'm at.
Yeah.
Kind of.
I think I actually had a really similar story to you my senior year too, and I'm not like gonna go into it or anything, but like you, I had to hit rock bottom, and I had to literally like, God had to like hit me in the face in order to realize what the meaning of life is. How
We're
it's
not saying
about
go out
me.
and hit rock bottom.
We're not saying it's fun. Like it is the literal words. Not a good time. But I mean, sometimes, at least for me, I'm a very stubborn individual, and so sometimes I had to hit the worst in order to realize myself, you know, this isn't worth it. This isn't how life should be lived, you know? Like your life is about serving and loving God, you know, and then everything else just kind of falls into place.
Well, what's great about it too is like I guess we could all say we all hit rock bottom here. And
Rock bottom squad, bro.
One thing about it is that
We're gonna get like bracelets.
Rock bottom.
We're gonna get rocks,
Bikini
bro.
bottom. Something like that.
That would go hard. Really though, if somebody made those and sold
Or
them.
like something like
A
that.
side hustle? Don't have to get plasma anymore. Go ahead, Lito. You had something you wanted to say.
hold on, rock bottom. Oh, so like we all here, you know, we hit rock bottom. So one thing about it that I see we all did was we didn't, you know, dwell on it in a negative way. We didn't really let us affect it in a negative way, affect us as a person in a negative way. Because a lot of times we hit rock bottom, or not we, but some people hit rock bottom and they don't know how to recover from it.
Yeah.
So what's good is that, you know, when you hit rock bottom, if you do, look at it and make your progress from it. One thing I learned from a movie was pretty cool is that.
What movie?
Shoot, I'm trying to think. It's like I'm
okay.
still standing. Sing. You watched it before, bro? With the animals, bro. There's like a
I'm
talent
thinking
show.
it's gonna be like Courageous
No.
or something.
Bro,
Sing.
those kids movies good.
Yeah,
But
man.
he said,
like Happy Feet, bro.
It's lit.
So motivational.
Okay, so the dude said the good thing about hitting rock bottom is that the only way to go is up.
And that's good.
So that hit me.
That is
I was
true.
watching it with my little sister, and she was like, well, she was laughing, but I was like, oh, dude, that's pretty crazy. Like, the dude's right.
Yeah, why your little sister's cracking
Like a
up.
little mouse.
Your little sister's
You're
cracking
like,
up. You're just
"Bro."
like, she's like, Lito, are you crying? Ah, bro.
You're like, dang, did that mouse really just say that?
For real.
Yeah.
Nah, but yeah, so that's I think, like what she said, I was a stubborn individual too, so it kind of took me to, you know, have God actually slap me and turn
It's
me
what
around.
it felt like, you know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
I feel that.
Yeah. And I think it's important. I don't know about your guys' rock bottom, but like when I had mine and I got out of it, I remember people were constantly like, Morgan, do this, come with us and do this, do this. And I had to be like, no,
Yeah.
no, I can't. I'm sorry. I will not. No,
yeah.
no. And
I
then
get that a
finally,
lot.
like, you know, somebody else who loved God and also like went out and partied, they'd be like, oh, she's so fake, this and this. I said, don't you understand that this is why I do this? Because I don't want my words to be fake. I want you to see me, and I want to look as much like Christ as I possibly can,
Yeah,
you
that's
know?
good.
And I don't know. It's crazy because people who don't know God don't understand, you know?
They look for that temporary satisfaction that my boy was talking about to get you out of the gutter, but really it's
It's
just
just a
throwing you
time
back
loop,
in.
man. You're just going to end up back in the same spot.
Yeah, that's right.
It's good.
Seeking pleasure is only going to lead you to seeking more pleasure.
Oh, well,
That's
this is a lot of
super
truth out here
simple,
tonight.
but-
Shoot, you guys came on a good show. All right, what time is it? Well, we have 9 minutes left.
Dun, dun,
Let's get as
dun.
much information out as we can.
Let's check it out. Maybe like that.
Do that.
Man.
Let me drive the book.
Well, I mean, let's just get this out of the way, though. So when we sign off my show, we always say a quote about something. I don't know what you said last week. I sort of forgot already.
Iron sharpens iron, maybe?
Oh, dude, that's a
Maybe.
good one, bro. Oh, dang it.
You can't do the same one, though, so that's kind of
Alright, I'll switch it up.
Yeah, so a quote, it can be something someone told you when you were young, something you just listen to every day.
I got it.
it could just be your favorite verse. You really don't have to overthink it. Someone who was once on my show just said to work hard, which was a great truth, but you know, it doesn't have to be super,
I was
super
like,
out
I
there.
thought you were trying to show me
Just
something.
being extra.
Oh,
Okay,
cool.
since you know.
Living on Jesus right now.
I
Mine.
was like, oh, is that your quote?
That's not my quote. So my dad, when he would drive my sister and I to school before we could drive, he would we'd open the door and we'd get out, and he would say this every day, and I'd be like, yeah, Dad, see you, love you, bye. But like, I'll wrap it up to why it means so much now. It's like he said, help someone, be a leader, and give God the glory. He said those
Man,
three
that's
things.
Good.
He's like, help someone. He's like, what's next? He'd be like, be a leader.
Aww.
He's like, give God the glory.
I'm gonna write
Or
that
like
down.
he'd have us like kind of repeat it or whatever. He's like, what do I always tell you every day? And then like we'd say it. But I got to speak at my graduation,
Really?
and you know I didn't.
Small school problems. I'm just playing. I'm just playing.
15
No,
people,
JP,
shit.
I'm just kidding.
Right over me.
Everybody
right over
got
my
to
head.
speak.
That's funny. Hey, I'm giving you content. It's okay.
You're giving me great content. It's great
Exactly.
content.
No, so you know I got through my speech or whatever, and then at the end of it, I was like, this is really cheesy, but like it meant so much to me. It like kind of started to make me cry. Like found my dad in the crowd and I looked at him. I said, help someone, be a leader, and give God the glory. And then I walked off the stage, and like just from like kindergarten, my dad said that to me, and then like to say that, like as I walked out of school,
That's awesome.
and then like looking at it now, like I just felt like there was a lot of things in high school where it was like, it just didn't mean a lot. It didn't
Yeah.
stick, or it didn't like get into like our brains. We didn't soak it
Yeah.
up. But like now it's like just those words like resonate more. But that was something my dad said, and then
Future tattoo? I'm just kidding.
I'm trying to stay free of ink for a long time,
Really?
if forever. But
Oh, that's a whole nother
I don't.
topic.
No, I don't.
I'm trying to get matching tattoos, dude.
I don't hate on them, but
One thing I could leave you guys with
Drop some serious heat, you know,
is
Lito.
let me try to poop.
let me try to vote. Stay true to yourself, but always be open to learn. So
That's good.
yeah, my grandma
Aw.
gets on me about that. So
Aw. Well, this has been a great show. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. It's been a great semester, okay? It really has. I love all of my little... I don't know. What should I call my viewers? I could be like really cheesy, be like, oh, my little cashes.
All your
little dollar signs.
cash.
Oh, my cash. That's so
I don't know.
cheesy. I hate myself. Okay. Love you guys. Bye. I'll see you in the fall. Okay, sign off.
maybe
Cash monsters.
Okay, well, that's
Cash
interesting.
Money
Cash.
Morgan.
All right. Bye.
Get at
Peace.
it next fall.
Thumbnail.